The foreign ministers of 24 countries have issued a joint statement calling for a flood of aid to be allowed into Gaza. The statement, which was not signed by Germany, points out that the suffering in the territory has reached unimaginable levels and that famine is unfolding before our eyes. It calls on Israel to allow more aid into the territory and to allow humanitarian organisations to operate there. Well, let's get more on this from our political correspondent, Bernd Riegert.
Yes, notably,
Welcome,
Germany
Bernd.
is absent from this.
It didn't quite work there, but you're all right. We've got you now. Last week, Germany imposed an embargo on Israel for weapons to be used in Gaza, yet it has not joined this call for Israel to allow more aid into the territory. Some would see that as something of a logic disconnect.
Well, notably, Germany is absent and there was no immediate explanation from the Foreign Office. Why is that? In the past, Germany also refused to sign similar declarations because the government here argues declarations don't alter the situation on the ground, and Germany agrees actually with the content of the declaration, also with the newest one that has some harsher words than other declarations so far. It also says that urgent action is now needed to halt and reverse starvation. Maybe these words were a little bit too harsh for Germany, but for example, the foreign minister, Johann Wadefuhl, who was in Israel just 2 weeks ago, also said then already that starvation has to be avoided in Gaza Strip. And he also pleaded that Israel lets in as much aid as is needed, delivered and administered by the United Nations. So content-wise, there's not much of a difference. It can be that the government was reluctant because the Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, is under pressure here. He decided that he will not deliver any weapons to Israel for the time being, and that was harshly criticized by members of his own coalition government here, so maybe he didn't want to stir this discussion further.
Okay, thanks for that, Bernd Riegert. Now, this comes as Gaza's emergency services say Israel has intensified strikes on Gaza City, where the militant group Hamas claims 1 million Palestinians are sheltering. Israel's Security Cabinet recently approved plans to seize the city. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he expects the new offensive to be completed fairly quickly, but has given no timeline. The Israeli military has released footage of massive explosions in northern Gaza, saying the strikes were targeting terrorist infrastructure. And as a global community reacts to the Israeli government's plan to occupy Gaza City, DW asked residents what they think.
Khalil Al-Faram is a tailor in Gaza City. Supplies are hard to find and not many people have money for clothes. He fears being forced to leave will make things even worse. He was one of many who were displaced during Israel's first invasion of the city at the start of the war. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Gaza City is a Hamas stronghold and now plans to occupy the city, forcing everyone out again.
If Netanyahu decided to enter Gaza, occupy it and establish military rule, he won't leave any people here. Everyone will be expelled. We'll be no different from other people. We will leave and everything we are currently working on will be abandoned, just like we left it before.
Although Gaza City is under Israeli bombardment, tens of thousands of people displaced from the north and east have gone there. Most of the Gaza Strip is already controlled by Israel. The new plans would further reduce the spaces where people would be forced to go.
You just can't feel good. When you hear they want to reoccupy the area, you can no longer sleep. The anxiety is constant. You're responsible for children and women, with no means to evacuate. Even if we agreed to move, what would transportation cost?
They say there's no room in Han Yunis and Rafah is destroyed. Where will we go? Nusayrat and Deir al-Balah, they're overcrowded too. It's difficult there and here, so we stay. Why be displaced?
Struggling to survive Israel's continuing attacks and blockade leaves little time to consider the future. Some who do would like to see a role for the Fatah party-dominated Palestinian Authority, which has limited governance in some parts of the Israeli-occupied West Bank.
We tried Hamas, and the experience was bad. We tried the Palestinian Authority, and the situation was better. We hope they will return to power here. We do not want to try new people. We knew them and lived with them, lived a dignified life at the time. They must return to Gaza again.
We demand that Hamas leaders stop the bloodshed because we, as a people, have exhausted everything we have. We have no other choice.
Gaza is lost between different parties who want to rule. All we ask for is security. Whether it's Fatah or Hamas, we as people are asking for security, for food, for water and medical care, for our children, youth and elderly. It's all we ask for. Security, nothing more.
Netanyahu says he won't allow the Palestinian Authority to govern Gaza. Taylor Al-Faram says an Israeli takeover of Gaza City would displace people again, leaving them with nothing.
We cannot rebuild our lives with anything that could be a source of income, not to be rich, just to cover food and drink expenses. As soon as we begin, they come to tell us to leave again.
Despite his concerns, the tailor continues to make clothes for the kids around him for as long as he can, and while he still has material and thread to work with.